Hello and welcome to our fourth lesson on this topic of respiration. In the previous three lessons, we've looked at what respiration is, we've looked at aerobic respiration, we've looked at how substances are transported to your cells, and we've looked at how waste is removed from your cells. Today we're going to be looking at anaerobic respiration. So as you would do for any other lesson for me, you need to write the title in your books, anaerobic respiration. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to tell me what is meant by the word anaerobic. You should be able to explain how cells respire when there's not enough oxygen available. And you should be able to compare anaerobic respiration with aerobic respiration to name their similarities and differences. So, just to refresh our memories, respiration is a process of releasing energy from glucose. So a process of, and I'm going to put in red because it's important, process of releasing energy from glucose. Now, it's important that you say that it releases energy from glucose. Remember, energy cannot be made. You can't make energy. So respiration does not make energy. It releases energy from glucose. Now, when you're exercising, your breathing rate increases to take in more oxygen and to get rid of carbon dioxide. So we can say that when exercising, our breathing rate, and what we mean by breathing rate is how many times you breathe in and out in a minute. When exercising, our breathing rate increases to deliver more oxygen to the blood and remove more carbon dioxide from the blood. Carbon dioxide from the blood. So when we exercise, our breathing rate increases. We breathe in and out more times every minute than we would normally. And this is to put more oxygen in our blood and to remove more carbon dioxide from our blood. At the same time, our heart rate increases to supply more glucose and oxygen to the muscle cells and to remove the extra carbon dioxide produced rapidly. This is because muscle cells are carrying out more respiration. So we can say that, and I'm going to put in red, that muscle cells carry out more aerobic respiration when exercising. Okay. We can then say, which I mentioned just, that during exercise, heart rate increases. To deliver more oxygen and glucose to muscle cells for increased aerobic respiration. For increased aerobic respiration and to remove the extra carbon dioxide. And to remove extra carbon dioxide. So when you're exercising, your muscles are doing more aerobic respiration. They need more energy, so they're breaking down glucose by adding oxygen to it and releasing the energy so you can move, so you can run, so you can jump, so you can gambol, whatever sport you are doing. During this time, your breathing rate increases. That's why when you're exercising, you start going, okay? You're not just talking as normal. When you're doing all-out exercise, you start breathing heavily and your heart rate increases. If you exercise really, really hard, you feel your heart beating in your chest. This is so that you can deliver more oxygen and glucose to your muscle cells so they can carry out aerobic respiration and therefore you can do the exercise. However, sometimes your body cannot provide muscles with enough oxygen. Okay? So we can say that, and I put it in red because it's important, sometimes the body cannot supply cells with enough oxygen. With enough oxygen. Now, this is a problem. Bless me. This is a problem because cells carry out aerobic respiration normally. However, sometimes they don't get enough oxygen and they have to carry out what's known as anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration. Now, anaerobic respiration is respiration without the use of oxygen. So respiration without the use of oxygen. Okay? The word anaerobic literally means without oxygen or without air. So it means without oxygen. Now in previous lessons we said that aerobic respiration was with oxygen, and we said we had oxygen plus glucose forming carbon dioxide and water. Anaerobic respiration has a much smaller equation. Because it's a form of respiration, our only reactant is glucose. Okay, so that's our reactant. The glucose is simply broken down into a substance known as lactic acid. Lactic acid. Lactic acid, and that is our product. At the same time, When glucose is broken down into lactic acid, we also get a small amount of energy. So plus a little energy. You do not get as much energy from anaerobic respiration as you do from aerobic respiration. Okay? So we can add underneath here, and I'll put it in red, anaerobic respiration does not release as much energy as aerobic respiration. So let's have a look what we've said. We've said most of what I need to say today. We've got respiration is a process of releasing energy from glucose. It's released, it doesn't make energy. If you say in an exam that respiration makes energy, you lose the marks. When you exercise, your breathing rate increases to deliver more oxygen to the blood and remove more carbon dioxide from the blood. This is because muscle cells carry out more aerobic respiration when you're exercising. While you exercise, your heart rate increases to deliver more oxygen and glucose to your muscle cells so that they can do more respiration and you can remove this extra carbon dioxide. Sometimes the body cannot supply cells with enough oxygen, and at which point you move over to what's known as anaerobic respiration. Your muscle cells will start getting energy from glucose without oxygen. So anaerobic means without oxygen, therefore anaerobic respiration is respiration without the use of oxygen. The reactant of anaerobic respiration is glucose, and it breaks down into lactic acid, which is our product, and a little bit of energy. Anaerobic respiration does not release as much energy as aerobic respiration. Okay? Now, carbon dioxide and lactic acid are both very poisonous in our blood. Okay? So we can say that carbon dioxide and lactic acid are poisonous in the blood. Now, carbon dioxide is an easy one to get rid of, okay? We can say that carbon dioxide is removed from the blood by the lungs and exhaled out. Exhaled is a posh word for saying breathing out. So the carbon dioxide building up in your blood is removed by you breathing it out. However, lactic acid is a bit more of a difficult one. Okay? Lactic acid has to be taken to the liver where it's added to oxygen to break it down. So we can say that lactic acid is taken to the liver where it is broken down it is broken down by being added to oxygen. Okay, so lactic acid is taken to the liver where it is broken down by being added to oxygen. Whenever you finish exercising, I know I do, if I exercise, if I go for a run, I finish running and I'm there for ages going, oh God, oh, like that, and crying and things like that. Now, the reason I'm breathing heavily is because I have what's known as an oxygen debt. Oxygen debt. Oxygen debt. Now, oxygen debt is the amount of oxygen required to break down all the lactic acid in the liver. So, the amount of oxygen required to break down all of the lactic acid in the liver. Okay? So after you exercise, the reason you remain out of breath is because you're paying off this oxygen debt. So we can say after exercise, we breathe heavily, to pay off this oxygen debt by taking lots in, or by inhaling lots of oxygen. Okay? Now, if your muscles respire anaerobically for too long, there is a build-up of lactic acid, and this causes what we know as cramp. So we can also say one final thing, we'll go that colour, we can say too much lactic acid in the muscle causes cramp. So if you get cramp, a lot of the time it's because you have too much lactic acid built up in your muscles. So, carbon dioxide and lactic acid are poisonous in the blood. Carbon dioxide is removed from the blood by the lungs and exhaled out. Lactic acid is taken into the liver where it's broken down by being added to oxygen. Oxygen debt is the amount of oxygen required to get rid of this build-up of lactic acid in the liver. After exercise, we breathe heavily. So after you've been sprinting, you'll breathe heavily for a while to get enough oxygen to your liver so that it can break down all the lactic acid that your muscles have built up. Too much lactic acid in the muscle causes cramp. So, you should now be able to tell me what's meant by the word anaerobic. You should be able to explain how cells respire when there's very little oxygen, so glucose is broken down into lactic acid, and you should be able to compare anaerobic respiration with aerobic respiration. Aerobic is with air, anaerobic is without air. This has 2 reactants and 2 products. This has 1 reactant and 1 product. Okay? I hope you found this lesson useful. If you have any questions, please comment below in Google Classrooms or send me an email directly and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Until the next lesson, take care.